Two, one. Hi, everybody. This is Robert Linkle, and you are listening to Aging with Strength. This is a podcast slash webcast, and this is episode number 6, which we have titled Goals for Real Life and How to Set Those Goals. And so something I wanted to talk about, number one, I'm at home, and the kids are here, and they're going crazy. So it's Friday, and they're all excited, and we've been wrestling and everything. So you're probably going to hear them in the background a little bit. But first thing I want to talk about was a post that I put on Facebook not too long ago. Basically, 15 years ago, I sat down and wrote some long-term professional goals. I had a really good mentor, the Cosgroves, Alan and Rachel, and they had all of us during one of our learning education experiences with them. I wasn't live with them yet. This is just reading their books and going through some of their content that they had. One of their drills was for you to go through and set some very, very short-term goals, some like mid-range goals and some very long-term goals. And not too long ago, I found that piece of paper and started to reflect on some of my long-term goals. And the intention was to achieve it in 10 years, and it took a little over 15. But today, goal number 5 was achieved. And so I want to share some of that with you. At the time, 2003, I had 6 clients, and my goal at the time was to get 50 consistent, what I consider a lifer clients that are with me and train with me on a consistent schedule. I don't have to ask them, every time we get done, are you coming next week? Are we good to go? They are just committed and they are in the program. And I wanted 50 of those. And so that seemed like a very large number for me to kind of throw out there, thinking maybe someday that'll become a reality. Number 2 was to open my own studio. Having just become employed at a country club, not even knowing what the industry was about really, I knew at some point I wanted to operate my own facility, be my own boss, run things the way that I wanted to do it. And so in 2014, that occurred. I wanted to hire an employee or multiple employees and pay them well. And when you look at our industry, our employees, our personal trainers, our independent contractors are not paid well at all. And so I wanted to show value to our employees, or as of right now, our employee, and let him know that, we valued him. We valued his commitment, his future. We wanted to give him good pay rates and give him, benefits and opportunities to do that. And so we have a kind of a 3-scale sliding progression that's occurring, and he's, kind of right in the middle of that right now. So we're very happy that's happening. I wanted to create a program and a program design, not only what we implement on a daily basis with our clients, but how we assess and program our workouts every day to see if things are working, if they're going well. And so we've created that over the last 3 years, and that's what I do my webinars on and what I, teach a lot of my content. And then the 5th one was a financial goal that we had that, it was kind of session based. We have, numbers are always achievable if you make them real, instead of just saying like, I'd like to make $70,000 this year. We would look at, the average client, the average session, how many sessions I do per day, how many I do per week. And then those numbers will all add up to 70,000. So instead of just throwing out the $70,000 goal sheet, I would come in and say, I want to do, 15 sessions per day. That would give me, 65 to 80 sessions per week, depending on, how many days I'm working. And that would get me up to the goal that I wanted to achieve. So today we had one of those, and my final one, my session count was achieved. And feel very, very good about finally achieving that. So something I wanted to share with everybody, and it really got me thinking about the idea of, the end of the year now in December. We see a lot of the New Year's commitments, the New Year promotions that come around, and people start to make these, these commitments, these goals that maybe they haven't really thought of or thought through entirely all the way. It's just one of these things. It's like, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds, and I'd like to spend more time, with my family. So a couple of things I want to think about, or I'd like you to think about, is when you start diving into these goals, a really good way to look at this as we do. I say we, my wife and I, my sister, my brother-in-law, they're very, rounded but spiritually based individuals that we will learn. My wife and I, being the we learn a ton from, and so they look at things in a really nice way of setting intentions. And we will get together for holiday meals or birthdays or whatnot. We'll talk about our intentions for the next day, the next week, the year, whatever it is coming up. So when you look at some of these intentions that you want to set for 2019, we can look at them personally. You can look at them professionally. So one way to look at them personally, when we teach movement, a movement has three components to it. It has a cognitive component where you mentally understand what I'm saying to you, and you get the reason why I'm asking you to do that. I'm asking you to perform a deadlift, and you need to have your hips move backwards. You know what that means. You need to keep your chest vertical, shoulders back. You understand it. Then you have the psychomotor component, and that is the physical ability to actually do it. So you start to move your body, push your hips back, pull your shoulders back, lock your chin in. You start to put yourself into the positions that you've now heard about and learned about, and now you're practicing them, putting them into motion or into psychomotor component. And then there's the affective component. The affective component is the emotional connection. And when we talk about emotional, for us, we mean the connection between you, the client, and me, the trainer, that you trust the content that I'm teaching you, and you trust the reason that I'm teaching it to you, that it's the right thing, that I'm giving you the right cues, that you're not going to get hurt from this. So there's an emotional connection, a trust, a value, a belief, a deeper connection for us between the content, between the movement, and those three things encompassed together create, an outcome and create a goal, create something that can be achieved. So we can take those same three components on a personal level and apply them in. So here are ones that I have. I'll just kind of use as examples, and maybe that'll kind of stir or kind of get your brain moving a little bit on the idea how some of these can get applied. So a cognitive component for me is there's an emotional level of play for me. Like when I come home and I'm hanging out with my kids, and we get to do our daily stuff, but they're assisting me, they're helping me in the yard, they're doing that stuff. I don't really look at that as play. Where I look at play is when I'm not doing anything else other than sitting down and actually connecting, listening, and playing with them. We're still spending time together on these other items, these other events. They're helping me in the yard. They're, helping me clean the car. We're putting away groceries. Like, we're doing life, we're doing stuff. But how often do I sit down and just say, all this is going to wait, all this is going to stop. I'm just going to spend some goofy emotional time hanging with my kids, dressing up, being a goofball, playing. And so that, to me, that's an affective component. I want to make a deeper emotional connection there with my kids, spend more time playing. But I also want to have more of that time with my wife as well. We are so busy with life. Things are always going. And not just date night. Like, I'd like to have those as well, a little bit more, but also to have just more time where it's just her and I. We have time to talk, to discuss, to plan out our goals, to talk about what's going on, and not just the day-to-day basics. So that's my affective or my emotional connection side. On the psychomotor side, now that I've been able to rebuild my hips to a point where I feel like they're strong and they're capable, I've been able to pick up some fairly heavy weights and move those weights around. But afterwards, I don't suffer soreness, but I have some pretty great soreness from doing that. So I'd like to get back to a point where I could do rack pulls with my body weight. And I'm hoping by this time next year, I have a very good plan of how I can progress that and get up to, which I'm hoping, which is the other psychomotor component for this for me, is to lose some body fat. So I'm hoping to drop 20, 25 pounds as I continue to go through this year, and eventually have that weight equal somewhere right around 220, 225, and be able to rack pull that weight. So I have my emotional connections. I have my cognitive component of how I'm going to train to not only build my body up to be able to do this lift, to be able to perform this lift. It's something that, as a former thrower and such, I want to feel good about being able to manipulate and move my body weight around again. But then the physical component of completing that, but understanding what steps I'm going to need to do to achieve that, but also what nutritional components I'm going to need to do to achieve the body fat loss. So it's easy to just throw out like to be able to do this many chin-ups and lose this body fat. But when we sit down and we really go through the steps and create a plan and draw out all the steps from each little component of what you're going to do, and month by month and week by week, those are the things that give it that extra emphasis, right? The extra little bit of like, this is a real goal. It's not just something. And then this goes on the wall when you're done to really give you that emphasis. I'm seeing it every day. I'm thinking about it every day. You can print out 2 or 3 of them, put one in the office, put one in the gym, put one in your car. Just make it something that is top of mind awareness. That's another Cosgrove component. Always thinking the things, seeing things, it just keeps it that much more aware. When I was doing my session counts and our financial goals with this, I had those counts listed in my book every week. Here's my goal. I want to get to 50 sessions this week. I want to get to 75 sessions this week as things would go. And you just keep progressing those as you go along. Okay. So making goals a little more real, a little more detailed gives you a lot more opportunity to be successful with those. And I just want to get use mine as some examples for you. Okay. Professionally speaking, same approach, same progressive, you hear the kids screaming, same progressive steps to kind of go through this. I look at things professionally. I have a new session count, new financial goal that we want to, pursue. We have webinars. My secondary passion is this, being able to get live and get on with people and share. So to have our webinar business start to pick up and do well there. And then I also have some goals specifically with my clients where I like our programming. I love our programming. I love what we do, how we're having them do that. But I want to have greater opportunities to track and gauge their success based on the protocols that we put in and the testing that we're going to do. And our clients hate that word testing. I'm searching for a different word for that. But we have a conditioning component, a mobility component, a lower body strength component, upper body strength component, and then a power output, full body and upper body. So those 6 testing components, or I don't like the word assessment either, but putting those into practice throughout the year and be able to test those multiple times, make sure that our programming is doing well, which it is, but how much more efficiently can I do it? And where can I show exact charting to my clients? Here's where you were, here's where we're going, right? So I want that detail. I want to show them great success where it might not be coming across in, centimeters lost off the waistline, but it might be coming in as, you've increased by 35 pounds on your glute bridge this year or something along those lines. I really want to take things to the next level with our employee, with John, and get his business growing up. I talked about those 3 tiers that we had. He has just hammered tier 1. We're good there. We're ready for tier 2. So the steps that I'm going to have to go up to that next level with him. And then on a presenting and kind of coaching side of things, I'm just starting a new gig with a high school right up the road here, Ponderosa High School, to be able to continue to work with them and eventually, maybe be a little bit more involved as things go along and to continue speaking, presenting, 8 to 10, 12 times a year. So professional goals you have, your personal goals that you have, these are all components, things that you kind of put out there where you might be thinking them, you might be, especially in the car, that's where I feel like I do a lot of my best thinking as I'm driving. I'm like, oh, that's something I want to do. And here are the steps that I could do to do it. And the unfortunate part is you're driving in the moment. You can't write those things down. So as those goals start to come up and you start to think about those, tap your Siri button and have her take some notes for you. Start making these goals real. Start giving them steps. You don't really need, I'm not huge on timelines unless they're necessary. So if you have, an event that things need to be done by, or you need to be in shape for a culminating event, that's a different ballgame. But in some of these, when you have goals, you have setups, you have progressions and steps, like life happens, things happen. I feel like you just put more pressure on yourself to get them done by half the way through the year. I have to be at this component. I have to be at this level if I'm going to achieve this thing. You just put more pressure on yourself. And some pressure is good. But I think the bit of pressure that you get just by creating this goal, making it real, putting it up for people to see, for others to talk to you about, for them to know what you're pursuing, I think there's good pressure from that, pressure/support. But on the other side is you don't want to be obsessive and compulsive and feel negative energy, negative effort towards these goals because maybe they're not coming as quickly as you'd like, or you're not achieving them as quickly as you would like to. So make these intentions, give some really great detail, give yourself a general timeline, but understand that by making them real, by putting them out there, you're going to try pretty damn hard to achieve them. But on the other side, if you make this so detailed, so step by step, and you start to fail or miss some of your marks, it could just start to bury you emotionally and physically, and mentally, take you out of your game with this. Something that was designed to be successful and helpful and progressive now is becoming daunting. Something that every time you look at it, you have this negative tone to you, this negative emotion connected to it. And that's not beneficial at all. So, give some great detail, but give yourself some leeway. I think it'd be a great 2019 tool for you to implement, some personal sides, also with some business professional sides to go in and see how your year goes. And if you want to, as my post said today, now that we've achieved my 10-year goals of 15 years, success, #success. Now that we've achieved that, and I say we because my wife and I are very much so a team. Now, later into those last couple goals, adding our employee John in, we're very much so a team, but it's time to write some new goals. So I'm going to have these ones for this year. I've created that, but I'm making another 10-year goal sheet. Hopefully, maybe it'll happen in 8 rather than 15 this year. You never know, though. If you don't put these things out there, it's basically a very long-term map. How are you going to get to where you want to go? Or throw Legos on the ground. How are you going to get to where you want to go if you don't know the direction, the steps, and the things required to get there? Hopefully this helps you out. I really appreciate you all being on here listening, joining us today. This is Aging with Strength, a webinar, a webcast, and podcast for you. You have any questions, any comments, concerns, feel free to comment down below, email me, check us out on YouTube, follow us on there, subscribe on there. We've got over 45 videos, I think, up there now on training the older adult, all of our training components, our business practices, all that. And then check out our webinar series coming up in 2019. Though it is a digital video viewing experience through Zoom, like we're doing right now, there's a lot of hands-on components where you're going to see a lot of physical application to how we teach a lot of our exercises to our older adults and how you can do the same. So thank you very much. Hope you have a great day, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye.